Good morning, everybody. I've been up since four something, and I just woke up with all of this excited, loving energy in my heart, feeling, just very open, and I've spent the last few hours just kind of letting myself find some ground. This is something that I've been learning as a earth angel in Earth School Academy, I don't know, is that on Earth, and Craig said this in his set saying it last night, I really liked it. Like on Earth, we have to honor all the levels. So for a lot of us, maybe you can relate. For me, it's always been really, really easy to honor the heart and above. I come from some kind of star system where things were more ethereal, less dense. I've hung out for long periods of times in heaven realms, transcendent realms, where there was kind of form but not really, and it was just floating in love and peace. And so my learning, a big part of my learning in this realm for my soul has been to honor every level, and then that's kind of the process that's been unfolding in my awakening right now. Is I'm having to honor, the solar plexus, the Hara, the sacral, the root, the pelvis, the legs, earth, density, and that takes a real maturity, and it kind of really cleans up our earthly existence too. Because if we're just honoring the heart and above, it's like the heart isn't going off of all the information. Whereas when we're open in our lower centers and we're connected to our earthly nature, then it's like all the chakras are open and we're making decisions in a more embodied way, in a more mature way, in a more grounded way. And so there was this urge to, right when I got up at 4, basically, maybe I meditated for 30 or 40 minutes, there was this urge to come forward, but I could tell the share, and this wouldn't be wrong or bad or anything, but I could tell the share would just be from here above. And that's basically how I shared for years, right? And that's, the heart above is so much better than just the neck above, than just, that was me in my 20s, just intellectual, just the mind. But things got, through Kundalini, things got very transcendent for me in the realm of the heart and the mind even, and all of that. But I've been, I've been being dished out some fierce grace. If you look at my videos, the fierce grace of what it's like to be open in those centers, but to only live from the heart and above without honoring every single layer. It's a rough ride on Earth, right? And it needs to be rough it's rough for a reason. It helps us wake up to the reality that we are in an earthly realm, and I could actually honor, it's so interesting, I could honor the, more of the earthly layers when I was more asleep, when I was more in density myself. But it's a different thing to honor the earthly layers when we're awake, when we're conscious, when we feel everything, when we're sensitive, when we're wide open, when we're in connection with the transcendent realms. Because once we get in connection with transcendent realms, there is this kind of instinct to forget about or dismiss our earthly life. And Craig talked about this, how he did that for many years. I think he maybe said he did it for a decade. And that's a painful way, and in a lot of, in some ways, we're just trying to transcend our pain by going to the transcendent realms because they've opened up for us. But in another way, it creates pain. And it creates a lot of unnecessary suffering. And so this path for me has been becoming more and more about honoring the earthly layers. It's almost like we have to go through stages of our awakening. And my stages have looked like, cool, opening up in the heart, getting really clear there, getting purified there, opening up into more transcendent realms, remembering who I really am, knowing that I'm not my body and I'm not my mind, getting in touch with my soul essence, my divine nature. But I think I'm moving into a phase now where it's more connecting to my earthly strength and my earthly power, and honoring that, and actually realizing how fulfilling that is, and how much simpler and clearer life can be when we live from our lower chakras. How there's just a greater earthly maturity that starts to wake up in us as we keep walking the path. Because it's both, you know. I did earth things in an easier way when I was kind of just asleep. But that's not the way, right? And it's also not the way to be awake to the transcendent realms and have a wide open heart, but to try to be dismissing the earthly layers. That's not the way either. It's like both. It's like we want to be awake. We want to be connected to the transcendent realms. We want to have a wide open heart. But we also want to have the strength and the power to connect to the ground beneath us, to really be, you know, a spiritual being, but that also can navigate Earth in a way that's, just mature, in a way that is supportive for our own self. And then once we're able to support our own self, it's like we can offer so much. It's like, how much service can we really offer if we're only living from the heart up? Because it's like we're not actually, I mean, I'm just feeling this in real time. We're working through this together in real time. There's this sense of like, the full offering comes online when all of our chakras come online, you know. And I can feel that with Cesare and Craig. Like, they're very, very much connected. They got so much going on up here, right? But they're very, very much rooted in their humanity, rooted in their Hara. You can feel their consciousnesses in their hips. They're connected to Earth. And it's like that's that kind of groundedness. That kind of groundedness is very supportive, is very stabilizing, is very trustworthy. And it's very rare. It's actually, Craig was saying that too, but how rare it is for people to really embrace both their spiritual nature and their humanity. And how even great teachers can get kind of, can kind of push away the humanity aspect of this experience. But to really embrace both is a rare gift, and it's something that I feel like life might be leading more and more of us into. I know it's coming online for me. I wrote some stuff down that came through this morning. I don't know, it's not feeling that true to talk about though. Yeah, it's interesting how that happens sometimes. You think a video is going to be about something, but then you just kind of catch the wave and speak what's true. But yeah, maybe this resonates with you guys. Kind of embracing being an earthling more and more. And it takes a lot of courage to do that, right? It takes a lot of courage to go down into the lower chakras and to feel what's there. It takes a lot of courage to be with all the layers of Earth, to honor all the layers of Earth. It's not something that comes easy for a lot of us. For a lot of us, it does come, and I work with quite a few of you actually, where it does come easier to embrace Earth than it is to embrace the transcendent realms, or to go more into the crown and chakra and that kind of thing. But that's the thing with, we're all having our own little experiment here with Earth. We all have our own lessons planned out. And I'm noticing when you come into the Hara more, in your belly more, you get in touch with this unshakable nature. You're less easily pulled from truth. It's like you're more rooted in who you really are. Because I think when you're just in the hard up, it's easy to get kind of swayed, right? It's easy to get pulled off. It's easy to, because you're ungrounded. You're not rooted in like your power centers, your lower power centers. You're not rooted in Earth. You're not like anchored in all the way or something into your being. And so you can kind of get ungrounded, and this can create a lot of confusion and unnecessary difficulties. And you can almost feel like overly sensitive a lot if you're just in your heart up, overly impacted by environments, overly stimulated at times. I've been noticing this practice I've been doing of just being rooted in the Hara, and how it's, like I said, there's this unshakability when we're rooted there. Like less impacts us. We're more able to just stay with what we know is true. Like this morning, there was this urge to kind of check my phone. It was like 6 something in the morning. And I felt, where did that urge come from? And it was like, it was all up in here, this urge, this is where this kind of comes up here, this kind of movement. And I just felt like, well, what does my Hara want to do? Like, what does my belly want to do? And my belly was like, when you go to your belly, it's almost like there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to prove. It's just simple. It's just simple. Nothing to chase. It's all right here. Like when you're in your belly, it's just like ground of being that you can rest into. That's really clear. And you might not like the instructions from your belly a lot, or from these more lower energetic centers. It might not be like the most fun instructions, but it's always clear, it's always reliable, and it always feels like it's always true. It's like there's so much intelligence, earthly intelligence in our belly, in our Hara to connect to. And I just felt like my Hara, does my Hara want me to check my phone? Does my Hara have that urge? And my Hara's like, no. And everything's just always okay in the Hara. Nothing's that big a deal. It's just kind of like, and I'm just getting in touch with it, more and more. So I don't really have the words yet. But it's like an infinite darkness it's like an infinite divine darkness that brings balance, that brings stability, that brings clarity. And I think a lot of us probably need that right now, with the energies being what they are. We probably need to be connecting more in our earthly centers. This might help us. Yeah. Oh, I did say that being in connection with this unshakable and unharmable nature in the Hara will help us carry out our missions here and our purpose here on Earth. Like, we're going to need this strength. We're going to need this power. And it actually starts to feel fortifying and reassuring when you you know, at first when you come into these centers, like Craig has talked to me about, you might be like white knuckling it, like being with the terror down there and the gnarly, gritty sensations. But as you transmute those, and actually as you start landing in your Hara, first you start to really know who you are and what you're about and like what you're here to do on earth. That becomes really self-evident. And there is this sense of like, oh, I'm safe, I'm held. Yeah, there's like this stability that comes online. And like I said, it's not so exciting, and it's not this, it's not like when the heart opens, you feel like, you know, you get so much in a sense, because it can be a big experience. It's the heart, it's more like what you get is just eternal peace. And and it is incredible, and that is amazing, but it can feel more subtle, maybe a bit more mundane, and just more simple. Whereas the heart, when your heart opens, you're almost like chasing big experiences. I did that for a long time. I was just like, this is fun. I'm going to keep chasing big experiences. But after a while of doing that, you start to just want something that's even more deep. That's even more, like you want something more reliable. You want something simple, mature. That honors all the levels. And it's not like we go into the Hara and the heart closes. No, the heart stays, of course the heart stays open. But you're just operating on more levels of intelligence now. It's like you're more embodied. That's how it feels. Whereas before, it's just the heart, it's just the throat, it's just the third eye, and just the crown. And that can lead to big experiences. But it can also lead to like an earthly struggle, and the earth being really difficult and feeling just really hard to navigate. And it can feel like a lot of earthly suffering. Like I was saying earlier. It's like so beautiful to be open from the heart up, but it's like, can we bring balance to that? Can we bring balance to those magical openings so that we can actually be New Earth stewards here, so we can be leaders on Earth, so that we can be dependable, so that we can show up and serve. It's hard to show up and serve consistently if you're only operating from the heart up. I mean, you can pull it off, but it's kind of difficult because you're always swayed and you always feel kind of off center because you're not rooted. But when you start opening in the Hara, when you start honoring all the layers of earth, all the layers within yourself, you can show up easier. You're more connected to your strength and your power. And it doesn't matter how you're feeling. It doesn't impact you as much how you're feeling when you're in the Hara. It's just like you just live the truth. I love how Craig, I'm referencing Craig, I swear to God, you know how sometimes when you go to something and you're like, oh, I'm pretty sure the teacher is making this just for me. Like maybe some of you have had that experience watching some of my videos where you're like, I think he made this just for me. But yeah, Craig, it was one of those satsings where I was like, yeah, he's definitely made this one just for me. Yeah, he was talking about how when you are rooted in your Hara, when you are honoring all the layers, that the truth has nothing to do about how you feel, and that you're able to just keep going forward and living the truth because you're connected to your strength and your power, and you're rooted in who you really are. And so nothing's gonna stop you from fulfilling your mission, from fulfilling your purpose, whatever that is that you came to do here on Earth. So I think that's good. Yeah, sending you all so much love. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one. Namaste.